will focus on what it's like to be a parent, a teacher, a learner, a researcher during times of war, with our focus on Ukraine and the refugees that are in Ukraine or have had to leave Ukraine. We have 10 speakers for you today, so we'll be able to hear a great variety of perspectives. And feel free to use the chat to engage with different speakers or to enter questions that we'll have answered at the very end of the session. Our first presenter is going to be Professor Olena Huzar from Ternopil. And Pani Olena is going to give us an overview of what is happening in education in general in Ukraine. And then we are going to hear from 3 different people, and Pani Olena will just give their names because she's carefully organized their order. And then we're going to go to another part of Ukraine and listen to 6 different speakers, and I'll mention their names as well. What is important to note is that luckily with 10 speakers, we'll hear a great variety of perspectives. Unfortunately, it means that there will not be a lot of time for each speaker. So we'll have to be a little strict so that we'll have a chance to hear everyone. Olena Svichenko, I hope you have enabled screen share, because I know that Professor Olena Huzar would like to share some information with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and my presentation. Yes. Okay, it's okay. Yes. First of all, let me thank Canada and all of Canadians for the great support and help we feel in this difficult time of us. It is so very important to have the support of true friends. Thanks so much. And our special thank you, Ukrainian Language Education Center, Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies, University of Alberta, Acting Director Dr. Olenka Bilash and Olenka Spivachenko for inviting us today to this meeting. Difficult time today, the war in Ukraine, and let's talk about teaching and learning in time of war in Ukraine. This topic is very complex, multifaceted and ambiguous. Our conversation is only just one of the pages of pain and hope. Today, we will overview dry figure of information, the experience of parents and children, the experience as school manager, teacher, and psychologist. First of all, general information. Obviously, I cannot comment much on these terrible numbers. They are very eloquent. And this is a very large number of students and especially teachers and abroad. Our pain and tears. This number, all education building, including university, including special school and others. This numbers only school and education institution. Now we have a different format, but previous is distance and online education, yes. Distance is dominant. another numbers. And today we have experience of a manager, one of Lviv's region schools. And it's a very interesting case for us. Distance learning dominate for our students in country, in Ukraine and abroad. One of special page, inclusive learning. It's very difficult time for this kind of education, and numbers about this. Very, very large numbers of children in Ukraine and abroad are using compliant and distant learning options. This, yes. There are many different platforms, education platforms now in Ukraine. This is the platform. It's one of the beautiful and important platform, Osvita Now. The platform also provides a list of schools in Ukraine and abroad, information about higher education, psychosocial support, teaching, and others help. The platform will be regularly updated and supplemented with expert materials. And I see it's very important platforms, and it's very, there are many important information on this platform. The next step, I pass my colleagues. Svetlana, please. Natalia, please. Natalia.
Sorry.
Please.
Thank you. First of all, I would also would like to say thank you to all Canadian people that are really interested in have this interest how the education, what is the education experience of children and teachers in Ukraine, because it's really a hard time, and both teachers and children need support and to find new approaches how to teach and how to learn nowadays. And let me share my individual story shortly. So my family, me and my kids, 13 and 3, we had left the country on the second day after the war started. And the first months we lived in Poland. And actually, my daughter had a possibility to attend the Polish school already at the first week. But I had such an internal resistance to allow my kids to be assimilated so quickly, immediately, without having a possibility to reorient. And actually, like, to push her and to have this stress. So we really didn't know if we should stay, or we will come back. And I couldn't find any reason why she should go to school there. And I had a hope that we will continue with Ukrainian school. And I was really happy as a mother that we had the possibility, because Ukrainian school continued after 2 weeks of holidays. and children had the possibility to study remotely and online. So actually we had the same format as it was in COVID times, and it was the same possibility. At the same time, it was like same problems or same challenges. So if to say about the possibility, of course, when we were in a strange country, for me it was very important that my kid had this connection with Ukrainians, with her teachers, with her friends. At the same time, I should say that there were, as it was in COVID times and nowadays, it's a huge problem with this online study that children has this motivation problems, problems with to be focused on the learning process, and if we say, for example, for such subjects that are synchronic and asynchronic, you know. So if you say about this synchronic, even if the teachers try to present some materials, I see that my kid is not focused on the process. She could be bored a little bit, and if the teacher even allowed to switch off the camera, I see that she starts to doing her own business. So it's not good. But at the same time, if the teacher, for example, gives the tasks to do some projects. For example, it was English, and she had to prepare her project, common project with her friends. They should to come up with the idea of a new product and then to present appropriate issues. So she was really full of enthusiasm, and she had a possibility to communicate with her classmates. So it really was a good idea. So I would like to say that we really could have a good method to teach even in such complicated circumstances. What I had a problem already here, so we moved to Lithuania because I have a job here, and we decided that my daughter should go to the local school because she needs to have friends, to have a communication with other teenagers, and to be to become better integrated into a new environment. So it would be easier when she starts to go to school. And here, and we stopped to attend Ukrainian lessons online, but she tried to finish this school year only remotely, doing some tasks. And so what was the challenge is that we didn't get any individual schedule or individual plan how she should do this. And I saw that she just stopped to do anything. And now I try to make a pause in the Lithuanian school and ask her to come back to Ukrainian to finish this. So it's not easy because teenagers, of course, has a lot of challenges with motivation. But when we have such a complicated circumstances, it's really really hard to organize them and like to support, to find their own goals and to find like their internal motivation. Actually, what I would like to say, what is my fear as a mother and as Ukrainian, that as Alana already said, a lot of people left the country, and secondary education is really very important for every parent. And when they start to compare how it is in Ukrainian school, how it is here, some of them could decide that I would better give to my child better education. I will stay here, you know, and I'm not sure that it's really so good for children. And I believe that Ukrainian teachers have all possibilities to cope with new challenges, with all this new stuffs, and because I believe that this education is really an important front where we should fight, and we have to fight for very important things and to win. So actually, I really like to say thank you once more, because really important topic, and thank you for your attention today.
Thank you. Please, next, Svetlana.
Hello, everyone, and let me share also my experience from the mother's side. So me and my daughter, who is in the 8th form, we haven't left Ukraine and our hometown Ternopil, and from the very beginning we stayed here. And so as comparatively peaceful town Ternopil, yes, but all the time these air raid sirens, they make everyone anxious, and it's very hard to focus on the studying, of course. In the school where my daughter studies, children have synchronous and asynchronous distant lessons. So synchronous lessons are conducted via Zoom, and asynchronous lessons are held on their Jedina Shkola, like on the school platform, and where the teachers download different tasks and tests, and synchronous and asynchronous lessons are according to the schedule, unless the air raid sirens. And in this case, children continue working asynchronous. So children have the paper subject books for their studying, and also they use some additional materials which teachers download to their platform. Talking about such subjects as physical training, so at first children acquire theoretical knowledge during the lessons, and then they do exercises according to the teacher's instructions, and they individually describe their results. So we haven't left the town as many of my daughter's classmates, so they have some socializing after the school. And as far as it's comparatively peaceful, as we may say, so here, so she also attends the art school, which works offline, and she says that she has enough socializing there, which helps to overcome these psychological difficulties in this turbulent time. And so hopefully we'll have this peaceful time soon, yes, and we'll be back to the classes, and children will have the actual studying and have more motivation, and you'll have the chance to get quality education. So thank you so much for attention and for inviting, and greatly appreciate your support and care. Thank you.
And please, Maria. And
Thank you. Thank you, Canada, for support. And Canadian teachers have always been happy to share their experience with us. It's especially nice to see here Pani Oksana Vinnicka-Yusupovich, who was the organizer on the Summer Institute Canada-Ukraine in Lviv. And I had the pleasure of studying there in 2019 and 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like to tell you about the experience of teaching and learning in the condition of war in my school. My English is not so good because emotions overflow, but I will try to make you understand me.
Можливо, відкрити на весь екран, Марія. Ага,
Це на весь екран.
Так,
Не йде на весь
спроєктуй,
екран?
Марічка, на повний екран. На повний екран.
А воно є на повний екран зараз. Секунду. Sorry.
О, добре.
I'm an educational manager, teacher, psychologist, and mother of schoolgirls. I would like to start with a personal story. My grandmother was 7 years old when the Second World War began. My grandmother didn't like to remember the time. We could hear from her only small pieces of tragic history. How a bomb hit their small house and blew everything up, and they survived. How they hid the children of a Jewish neighbor, of how they helped the boys from the forest. It was impossible to ask anything more about that time. But we have constantly heard about education and its value. Grandma could talk a lot about school and her teacher. Simple school supplies about how small and large children went to the same class, about how they wanted to learn. Now I understand that studying gave my grandmother strength to survive the war. Today is 2022. In this photo, my daughter Sofia, she is 7 years old, and we have the war again. And I understand that schooling for my Sofia and Ukrainian children should be a support in difficult times. The war took away our sense of stability. In times of war, when the usual orientation disappears, learning can become that once or show the light. During the war, a teacher doesn't only teach, but gives children a sense of stability, gives an example how to cope with difficulties. Learning in difficult times helps to stabilize the emotions of both children and adults. For many, the learning process can be support around which other supports can be built for teachers now. But we are working because we seem to be looking into the future. We imagine those possible successes of our students in the future thanks to qualitative education now. This motivates us a lot. Thus, on 24th of February, our lives were divided into before and after period. On the screen, you can see our teachers' meeting where the arising problems and the best ways to solve them were discussed. Due to the government decision, we had a 2-week necessary holidays, which helped us to come to our senses and organize ourselves for work in new reality. At the same time, our students, parents, and teachers got great initiatives from community education organizations. Smart Osvita suggests students to study English language with a native speaker, English teacher. Thus, our students have been having online meetings with their Norwegian teacher till now. We have the base that have been working successfully since 2015-2020. Since 2015, we have our own domain on Google, Busby Gymnasium or QA. Each teacher has a working email for effective communication. Since 2019, each student has her own email on the school domain for quality education. Our school uses all the possibilities of G Suite for education. Since 2020, there is a system of registers and daybooks. Here you can see both teachers and students' profiles and available to use G Suite tools that provide us the possibility to organize the educational process. Every teacher has created classrooms on his discipline, inviting students to join. The members of school administration being also invited can observe the whole educational process. In this slide, you can see the way the teacher addresses to her students, motivating them to work. Besides, she draws the attention to safety, asking to keep to the rules. At the air alarm signal stops studying immediately and move quickly to the shelter. Now you are suggested to watch an extract of the lesson conducted by Mrs. Helena in class 4B.
Марічко, не чути, не знаю.
Не чути зовсім?
I think in order to hear it, we would have to stop sharing. But I think we get the idea that the teacher is asking questions and different students are answering. So I think we can still continue today.
Okay. Thank you.
Was that the last slide?
No.
You can continue to present your slideshow.
Oh.
So maybe go when you enter share screen, there is a little button in the bottom left-hand corner that allows you to share audio.
The lesson in class 5B using the Padlet board can be observed here. And the last here as is being received checked by Ukrainian language teacher online. You can see this. The students of the same class are working on a theme homonymous with the help of Padlet board. Biology lesson in class 7. Foreign languages lessons. And, from the first day of the war, we have realized that our students need not only lessons, but also communication with a psychologist. Our psychologists have been having group and individual classes online all this time. All of this work would be impossible without high quality communication between teachers, students, and their parents. To do this, we constantly have meetings and online questionnaires to discuss problems and find the best ways out. It so happens that our school has become home to many children and adults who were forced to leave their houses when Russian occupants started shelling Ukrainian cities and villages. It has become a new circumstance for us to overcome. Besides remote study, we had to host laws indeed. It made us strong and resourceful. Internally displaced people were organized for their studying at our distant classes and were provided to our caring people with as much as possible living conditions and possibilities of recover from those terrifying events. The expert in law, doctors, psychologists, volunteers were always available for a consultation, and just ordinary people come to share the warmth of their hearts and deeply held believe that everything will be okay. It depicts art therapy classes with our kids. In August, painting made by internally displaced children will be auctioned in Canada. Funds of the paintings will be directed to help Ukrainian refugees and the children who painted them. A social project, the Bari cooperative like AB, Bari Investments, has started for children and their parents who were forced to leave their homes due to Russians' war against Ukraine. This initiative gave our guests the opportunity immerse in an incredibly warm and informative atmosphere. To feel physical and emotional safety, to be filled with positive resources. We were impressed by creative tractor with trailer, which were traveled through the fields of a modern Ukrainian eco company. We saw how Moroccan mint grows, eat at young rhubarb, met the animals that live on the farm. I was personally impressed that the company's employers invited psychologists to their team to this meeting. There were wonderful activities and a master class on creating amulets in the form of berries. Challenges that still remain, and we don't know how many of our students will return from abroad. We don't know how long the war will last. We have difficulties in completion on the school year, but we still accept all the challenges and look for good solutions, and preparation for the next school year is on. So we hope that start studying in September offline. When I was preparing for our meeting, there was an air alarm in all territory of my country. This is how it looks on the map. Our children already know this map. If the red color is lit and the siren sounds, you need to go to the nearest shelters as soon as possible. And we are doing it because it can save our lives. We believe in WIN and the armed forces of Ukraine, and we know that the tree of life will blossom. In the photo, the tree of life was created in the technique of pulling out by displaced guests as a sign of gratitude for the shelter. Thank you for attention.
Thank you. Thank you to all four speakers for so generously sharing their experiences. We know that you made many efforts to prepare for today, and especially that you were willing to share with us in English so that many teachers across Canada will be able to learn about your experiences. We have 6 more speakers. I'm going to ask Olena Sivachenko to introduce them and remind the audience and participants to please make comments or ask questions in the chat. Thank you. Olena.
Thank you, Olenko. And I would like to introduce the other team of presenters, because we are moving now to the center of Ukraine, and we have 2 regions to cover, the Kyiv region and the Cherkasy region. Both regions are located in the center of Ukraine. And I would like to start with the Kyiv region. I would like to introduce our first presenter. And this is going to be Yulia Dzuba, who happens to be my former student when I taught at the Drahomanov National University in Kyiv. And Yulia now is the principal of Specialized Secondary School 71 in Kyiv, where she also teaches English in grades 7, 8, and 11. And since the beginning of the invasion, she has been in her native village of Kryukivshina, which is Bucha district. We have all heard about these the war atrocities that happened there recently, and it's her native village. The village where she lives is only 10 kilometers from Kyiv. And I'm inviting Yulia to share her experiences of working amid war. And Yulia, the mic is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Canada and Canadians, for help and support. Thanks, Olena Sivachenko, for inviting to participate in this meeting. Lena is my university teacher. Thanks her a lot. So in our school, we have 855 students. 278 students are in Kyiv now. 295 students are in other regions of Ukraine, and 282 students are abroad. Also, we have 7 internally displaced students from Izum and Mariupol. For distance learning, we use Microsoft Teams platform. Our lessons are divided into synchronous and asynchronous. During synchronous lessons, teachers work with students online. During asynchronous lessons, students get some tasks, tests to do themselves, and then send to teachers. Students who are abroad rarely take part in synchronous lessons, and they partly take part in asynchronous lessons because they are obliged to attend schools abroad. So as a result, it's difficult for them to combine learning abroad and in their home school. Our school psychologist organizes research meeting 4 times a week, 1 time for teachers and 3 times for students who are in Kyiv, in other regions of Ukraine, and abroad too. Life hasn't stopped, so we carry out our school events online. But all these events are devoted to peace in Ukraine, our defenders, and love for Ukraine. Now I share a link on one of these events. Thanks a lot for attention. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Yulia, for sharing these experiences and these statistics. It provides some insight of what's going on really with the educational process in Ukraine. And please feel free to share that link to the events in our chat so other people can go and see what events you have. Well, thank you very much. And we are moving on, to the Kyiv region. And I would like to invite our next presenter, Nadia Kurovska. She is a teacher in secondary school number 4 in the city of Fastiv, Kyiv district. And she teaches English in grades 3, 7, 8, 10, and 11, as well as American and British cultural studies. And since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, she's been in her native city of Fastiv, and she would like to share her insights about the situation. Thank you, Nadia. And Yulia, thank you. Nadia, please.
Thank you. I think it's a great honor for me to have this opportunity to share my experience with you and to listen to all the wonderful and terrifying stories from different regions of Ukraine. When the war started, my family and we decided to stay in our town because me, myself, my mother, my grandmother, and my sister, we are all teachers, and we felt like this is a place where we should be. So when the war started, we had this 2 week break to gather our thoughts, I guess, or to understand what was going on in general. Within these 2 weeks, from my communication with my colleagues and students, I realized that we all did a hard process of trying to find our new roles and places in the world of war. During these 2 weeks, many families would flee the town, even though it was not occupied and it wasn't heavily shelled like many other places in Kyiv region. The battlefield was only about 20 kilometers away from Fastiv, so we would hear the bombing and all the sounds of the battlefield, which made many people anxious, and they would go west to take their kids for safety. So when we went back to school after 2 week pause, we realized that there are many students who are not attending classes, and there are many teachers who would work from abroad or from some Western regions of Ukraine. However, with some parents staying in Fastiv, but feeling like it's not a good time to go back to school. Many parents felt like it's not timely yet to go back to school, but the students who would attend the classes felt that it is more a necessity than anything else, that the school lessons gave them the sense of normality and let them feel that they're back to their routine. And however, it is hard to say that normality was a word for that time. We had to change the school schedule to adapt for night alerts, so our lessons would start later than usual, and they were shorter because we had like a 2-shift school because of the blackout rule in our region. And of course, during the air raid alerts during the daytime, we would stop the lessons and kids would go to their shelters. That's why, for example, we had days when from 8 lessons I had to teach that day, I would teach 2 lessons of 15 minutes between the alerts. So it would make kids really anxious and worried and nervous, and the days would stretch long and exhausting, both for students, for teachers, and I'm sure for parents, because having 2 children of my own who are elementary students, their teacher would start the lesson, then they would have a break for an air raid alert, then they would go back to where they have stopped. And so the school day would not have the typical timing. But times have changed, and for right now, I feel that the students have changed their attitude to learning compared to what we had in March. In March, many students would be very eager to talk about their experience and worries and fears, and they felt like socializing and comfort of their school group was the main thing at that point. So they would be willing to talk more than to learn, which of course we provided the opportunity because it was the comfort for us too, to feel that we are connected with the students, and we are, to be honest, I have never felt that much love to my students as in those days when the students would come to the lessons being in buses or railway stations and or overcrowded houses of their relatives in some western regions of Ukraine, because you would feel like they hide in the corner and they mute themselves to keep their grandmother voices at the background. And with time passing, more and more students started to talk about how they need skills and knowledge to support Ukraine and to be useful to the world. They don't want to study something that is not applicable and cannot be used to develop themselves and help the country. More and more of them are choosing their individual educational route and using me as a teacher only as a tool in their educational process, just to guide them and help them. Not all students, unfortunately, are on that way to conscious education. There are still students who fell out of educational process altogether for various reasons. Some of them are just not willing to study, while others attend schools abroad or just have no opportunity to go online, or they even stay in the town, but their family does not have enough money to pay for the internet connection, so they just can't go online to online lessons or upload the task. What we do with in such a situation is just we try to communicate with parents and students and vary the tasks and accommodate our educational process as much as we can to all the students to meet all their needs. But with this time of war, the time of challenges and the time of magic for some of us, we feel that there is a lot more to come. And I believe that cooperating with our students and believing in the future of Ukraine is the big thing that helps us stay afloat, stay positive, and move forward every day with our work. So I believe that our experience has to make us stronger and not weaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences and these stories. Well, and now I would like to move to the city of Irpin. Well, and I would like to introduce Lina Vishnevska. Lina, you can wave your hand. Well, yeah, so this is Lina. Так, и Lina is yes, thank you. And Lina is a teacher in Zarifa Aliyeva Secondary Foreign Languages Immersion School number 28 in the city of Irpin near Kiev. Irpin has recently become well known for horrible war crimes committed by the Russian army. Lina had to leave her native city, but she continued to teach her Ukrainian language and literature classes to her 5, 6, and 7 graders remotely. So after the city was liberated, I came to know that Lina was able to return home, and she's now in her native city. And today, her sister Lila, whom we see in our screens, will be talking on behalf of Lina, And Lila happens to be another former student from the Drahomanov National University. And Lila is also a teacher of English. She teaches at the private language school. Well, and Lila, the mic is yours, and we are looking forward to your stories and the stories of your sister.
Thank you. Good day for everyone. I'm really grateful for you for this opportunity to share our experience and to discuss these problems, this issue, which are really close to our hearts. First of all, as my teacher told you, we are from Irpin, and our hometown was attacked from the first days of the war. And our children, school children, our teachers, all people of the town had to meet that reality, had to face that reality. They were not ready to. Most of our students had to leave their hometown. Most of them, a lot of them had to hide, had to spend several weeks without conveniences, even without food, without water. And of course, now they have a great trauma. Some of them even lost their families, their parents or sisters or brothers, and it makes a new challenge for us as teachers to work with these children. The great difficulty is that a lot of these children even now have no possibility, or maybe have just don't want to attend school. They don't attend classes, online classes, of course, because now we have online education, and it's really awful because there were some lessons where were present only 2 or 3 students instead of 26 or 30 as it was before. Yeah. And even those children who are able now to visit classes, I can see that they are really homesick. They feel that they want to go back home. They want to meet their classmates, their friends. Our town is really young town because a lot of young people like we live here, and our children used to visit different clubs, different sport clubs after school, different maybe schools for art schools and others, and now most of them are abroad and they have no such possibility. And there was one situation when I tried to show my to revise with my students the words about town, like like school, like kindergarten, like street. And in the presentation I was given, there were pictures from the hometown, and when children saw those pictures, they even some of them started to cry because they felt homesick. And now talking about this, I understand that even when they return here, they will be shocked, because they will see destroyed buildings. Almost every building is destroyed or was bombed, and you can see the result of it everywhere. Even their school, I have to correct a little bit, school number 12, not 28, school number 12, and even school was destroyed partly. And this is really a sad situation for all of us and teachers also. So another problem that we face as the connection with the internet also, as the previous speaker said, that some students who are abroad now have no opportunity, have no access to the internet because it is really very expensive there in those countries they are. And that's why, as their parents explained, they have no opportunity to attend classes and to be present when we have online lessons. So in such situation, in such cases, we have to send them a lot of different tasks, assessment tasks, other project works, but we can see that only small amounts of them are able to send us their works, and it makes another difficulty with evaluation. It's really difficult to evaluate our students. So we try to solve this problem by putting them marks according to the first semester, part of the year, but it doesn't mean that they got enough knowledge they had to.
Thank you very much, Lila. Thank you for sharing this experience, and I'm sure that there will be more questions from our audience. Well, and I would like now to move our focus on another Central Ukrainian region. So now I would like to invite presenters from the Cherkasy region, and our first presenter is going to be Eva Chervonenko. She is a teacher in Taras Shevchenko Specialized Secondary School, number 28 in the city of Cherkasy, which is an administrative center of the Cherkasy region. She teaches English in grades 1 to 11. So, and since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, she has been in her native city of Cherkasy, and she's been working. Yeva, the mic is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot. So the war has affected all spheres of life in Ukraine, and the school living process, the entering university. So I'll be focusing mainly on the school leavers and their graduation. First, about the evaluation. Normally, school leavers get their general certificate of secondary education after 11 years of studying, and for that they will have to pass 3 or 4 exams, but this year those exams were cancelled, so if they are lucky not to pass them all, they will get their general certificate of secondary education anyway based on their marks they got in the first semester and the second semester. Instead of this, students who would like to continue their education in Ukraine and would like to apply for universities in Ukraine would have to pass exam, which is called simplified. I will explain why, because it's a national multi-test, which consists of 60 questions. It would take our students only 120 minutes to pass. Normally, it took them a month to pass 3 and 4 exams before the war broke out. So now they will have only 1 day to devote to this exam. They will have to answer 60 questions on the history of Ukraine, the Ukrainian language, and mathematics. English exams that most of my students were going to pass, so was cancelled also. Our students will have to write motivation letter, which is the first time experience for them this year. And what is good is that students who are now abroad but would like to continue their education in Ukraine would still have the opportunity to do it, because there will be the test will be available in 23 countries all over Europe. and there are like 39 cities, towns in Europe. So students who are now currently abroad will attend those centers and pass the exams there. I can say that the majority of them would like to come back home, would like to continue their education here. The difference is those who were going to enter universities in Kyiv, in Kharkiv or Dnipro, so they are now reconsidering the other options because they would like to study at safer places because they now realize how dangerous these places could be. In any case, they will come back. They promised me to come back. But if the situation doesn't change, so they will have to stay at where they are now and will apply for universities in Europe. As for traumatic experience that they are now going through, I can say that it's threefold. First, because they are suffering teenage anxiety, as all the teenagers, like family issues, friends issues, any kind of global issues they are aware of. Second is their school living process, because they're worried about their grades. They are also worried about big decisions that they have to make the right decision. That's more important. And the third is actually the war that has worsened everything. And now they are like worried 24/7. They are worried about their families, their parents and siblings who are at war now. They are worried about this constant air raid alerts, sirens on repeat, I guess. And the most problematic thing here is the uncertainty, that they are not able to set goals, they are not able to plan anything right now because they don't know what will happen next second. And I guess it's the worst. I think it's too much for young people. It's a burden that it's difficult to handle. They just pray for this hell to be over, and they would be able to come back home and continue their education here. So we all pray for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yevo. And our next presenter from the Cherkasy region is going to be Yulia Gordienko. Yulia, please, the mic is yours.
So I will be very precise and to the point. Thank you, dear colleagues. Your presentation were very exhaustive. And these problems are much more the same in each Ukrainian school. So I'd like to thank you one more time for inviting me and for the opportunity to be heard. So since Russia launched a full-scale military invasion, our school didn't stop functioning. There was just a 2-week break when we just were gathering our thoughts together and pulling ourselves together, and we didn't know what to do. Our school turned into a volunteering center, and we were mainly dealing with gathering some food for warriors, and we were weaving nets. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'd like to be more informative by showing you some photos. So just a moment. So here you can see my children, my 5th graders, who came and helped us. So we didn't want to see our children doing that. Yes, but in such terrific period, we were forced to do that. So now you can see the typical timetable for 5th graders, and it wasn't only for 5th graders.
Julia, I'm sorry
yes.
to interrupt you, but we can only see very, very small photos, all of your photos together.
Small?
Yes, perhaps you could click on one at a time.
Just a moment, sorry. I'll try to do it one more time. So maybe in such, are they full size?
I believe you should open the picture first and then show the screen.
Oh, it will take time. So just a moment.
Or please continue with your presentation and we will invite you back. I've in the chat, there are some people who have volunteered to
so you can't see the photo full size. Yes,
No.
it is still small.
Yes, but let us invite you back another time to share those photos. Okay.
So I will share in the chat, and you so sorry for that. I will share some photos on the site of the school. So my screen, and
now we can see them really well.
Oh, you can see everything. So when everything happened, I just want to show. Now you can see you can see this. Yeah, you can see the school website. So I will show it. When just this horror happened, I was at home, and my sister is a resident of Irpin, and she came here with her family, and when we were asked whether we are ready to launch Zoom sessions and to resume studying, I didn't just have the answer for that. But it turned out that our Zoom sessions, they were just like a breath of fresh air for me, meeting my children, meeting my colleagues. But I had the opportunity to conduct my lessons from home. And I decided to come to school because I had my notebook there, and I conducted lessons from school. Air raid sirens are so frequent in Cherkasy region, although we are not being bombarded, thanks God, God save us. But it's really terrific, and the children and just people, I think they are still seized with panic, and many children are just experiences stress reactions such as different panic disorders, anxiety disorders, sleep disorders. So that's why we introduced, and now as a psychologist, from the very just resuming of our study. Unfortunately, this timetable schedule didn't open. It was, and it is still on our timetable. And I think that it is a good practice. And our psychologist, she is just doing her best to make our children feel more safe in such circumstances. Our school has become just a new school for many refugees, for many children from other regions, which are called here internally displaced children. So you can see the photos. Yes, now you can see them. Here you can see how they, how the psychologist is conducting her lessons, and they are mainly focused on art therapy. To add more, I must say that we resumed our Zoom sessions just, it seems to me it was the 13th of March. On the 13th of March, I remember this date, two missiles had been destroyed by our air forces. And we heard the terrible noise. After that, it wasn't bombarding, our air forces were just working, but it was terrible, and many people were so afraid that it seems to me that 10% of our students and their families just decided to flee, and most of them fled to the to Western Ukraine, and many of them crossed the border, and now they are in Finland, in Czech Republic mainly, and in Poland. So they were not able to attend our lessons from the very first time, but they were learning asynchronously, and they attach all the tasks that were suggested by the by school our school teachers. Of course, socializing, we consider that it is very important. You can see that war is full scale, but children are at school, and unfortunately, I failed to show you the photos of my class, but we understood that socializing is paramount. And we decided to just invite our children to school. Of course, safety is paramount, and we haven't got any bomb shelter, but there is a good basement in front of our school where we can just hide in case of the attack. God save, and when the air raid siren is on. Of course, our 11th graders are just full of great expectations, and they don't want just to see how their dreams are being ruined, because many of them want to continue their studies here in Ukraine, not abroad. And I just wanted to show you 1 minute video. Just a moment, I think it will be okay. Yes. So it was Vyshivanka's day, and these are our 11th graders. So just.
Місто вогні, серце болить, втомлює бій, і ворог не спить. Кулі летять, поки падає сніг, і ворог лежить, мовчить. Ночі без сну, нам не холодно, чекає сім'я на околицях. Разом ми всі переможемо, це наша рідна земля. Хай буде весна, поки ми стоїмо до кінця, і нас не зламає війна, наша віра єднає серця, Україна навіки жива.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for sharing your experiences. And I'm afraid I forgot to properly introduce you. I just want, if I didn't, so Yulia Gordienko is an English teacher at the Specialized School of Informational Technologies #2 in the city of Zolotonosha, Cherkasy region. And she's been staying in her native city since the beginning of the war. And our last presenter today is Oksana Katrenko. And for over 20 years, she's been teaching English and German at the secondary school in the village of Chervona Sloboda near Cherkasy. Since the invasion, she has stayed in Cherkasy, and apart from teaching, Oksana is actively involved in volunteering at the Church of Intercession of the Holy Mother of God, where her husband, a priest of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, preaches. Volunteers at the church help refugees from the east and south of Ukraine. And Oksana, mic is yours. And just a reminder that you have only 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, my greetings to everyone again. I want to say just maybe this thing was not pleasant for me when we accepted refugees from the south and from the east. It was from Kherson, from Kharkiv, from Dnipro. So I was really just shocked that most of these people, they are Russian speaking. And our city, just most people in our city, they speak Ukrainian, and we just heard so much Russian language in our city. Just we were, it was not at the moment. It wasn't usual for us. Just and my students who came just from Kharkiv, they also tried to speak. To say some Russian words during lesson, I say no, we speak Ukrainian and English. We won't speak Russian during the lesson. Just and we must say that there is a problem. Also, we've got a problem inside of us, and we have just to help people to speak Ukrainian. And the people who were coming, and we were speaking only Ukrainian with them. Just my rule to speak Ukrainian in any case, and sometimes interrupt them and say, I don't understand Russian. And they try to speak Ukrainian. They try to speak, and they try just to follow just the language. So many people in the city. I live in the city and educate 8 kilometers from the city for 20 years, and I must say not many people left the village school. In each class, we've got 1 or 2 students who left school and 1 or 2 students who arrived from Kharkiv, from Kherson, from Dnipro, and from Donetsk. In my home, I've got people who live in my parents' house. They're from Donetsk, and there is a teacher who educates the people in Donetsk region. And I also had that she also just sometimes during her lessons Russian, because we have just, I asked why, I say you have just to change the situation. It's not bearable. We can't bear it, just the situation in Ukraine now. And I want to say that most lessons I got in the primary school. So it's such a situation that according to new Ukrainian school, we've got a lot of classes and a lot of teaching. And the problem was that I also educate in the secondary school. I've got deep learning in those schools where the students got 5 or 6 lessons a week of English. I've got these 2 deep classes, and the rest are my primary students. The students in the secondary school, they know different just technical platforms and use them easily. And if I show from the first second, they know how to use it. But the junior ones, they got a lot of problems for participating in the
I believe we have some internet issues. So let's wait for a couple of seconds, probably 20 seconds. Probably Oksana will come back. If not, then we will just open our Q&A session. Oksana? Unfortunately, Oksana is not coming back. Well, I just wanted to thank all the presenters for contributing to this webinar and for enlightening us and sharing their experiences of what is going on in Ukraine right now, particularly in the sphere of education. Well, unfortunately, wars can destroy nations. But I firmly believe that education is something that builds them. And so whatever teachers are doing now, well, whatever you are doing is invaluable and meaningful and of a great importance to all of us. Thank you so much again for your presentations. And if there are any questions or any comments we would like to take, and I would like to invite some presenters to answer them.
And I allow me just to close the session for a few minutes. Given the time, I think that we will only have a few minutes for comments, but we will organize a second similar session. We will let you know in the same manner. We hope you will attend. And at that point, we will welcome your questions and comments, and we'll leave more time for that. I would, I see Kate Woodman, who works with the Alberta Retired Teachers Association, has asked if we would be able to circulate the video from today's session, and the answer is definitely. Please share that with others. I'd like to thank Olena Sivichenko for her helpful organization for this session, and also Olena Huzar for coordinating the work and presenting herself in the Western Ukraine region. I think you'll all agree that our hearts go out to you, teachers, and certainly we admire your courage, your creativity. You've all mentioned the love of your students. You're doing this not just for yourselves and of course for Ukraine. So thank you everyone. And it's really been an informative session. And I see that there are other comments that are being made in the chat, like Uliana. I'm afraid I have to leave, but I'm going to let Olena Sivichenko wind up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Olenko. Thank you, Olenka. And please, if you have some questions to our presenters, so I'm sure our presenters will be happy to share their thoughts on them. Well, just
may I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
I would like to know from the schools that you represent, and it's both Ternopil, Kyiv, and Cherkasy, in how many of those schools do you have displaced persons living? In other words, the schools in Western Ukraine are used as living quarters for displaced persons. How many of you have in your schools individuals, families, mothers, children living, eating, sleeping?
Thank you.
Cherkasy, sorry, just a second. In Cherkasy, okay, I'm teaching in school 28, and the neighboring school just across the road is used as a place for refugees to live.
Thank you. And we have a raised hand from Oksana. Oksana.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to explain why I'm asking that question, because we are finding that in those schools where people are living, we are looking at whether or not we can open those schools come September. So we need to find facilities. I'm just curious whether you have that problem, just one school. Okay, thank you so much.
I cannot say that it's only one school. There are several schools all over the city, but I know that local authorities are trying to provide more places for them to live, for the schools to be open in September.
Thank you. And I have a raised hand from Oksana. Oksana, unfortunately, you had some technical problems and we had to wrap up your presentation. Oksana, so do you have a question or a comment?
Yes. I want to say that at the beginning, the school was given shelter for a week or two, and then we have found the places for the people to live later. Just at the beginning, it was a week or two, and then just the people found the place.
Thank you, Oksana. Any other questions? Мирослав Шкандрій. Пане Мирославе, прошу. Пане Мирославе, just could you please unmute yourself? We still can't hear you. On the panel, in the right-hand corner. So we have a button, mic button. Okay, Yulia Zuba, please. I see you raised the hand.
Our school isn't used a place for refugees to live, but for these 3 months, our school has been used as a bomb shelter. So we hope we will have the opportunity to work in September, but everything in God's hands.
Thank you. Thank you, Yulia, for your comment. Okay, and all right. Пане Мирославе? Now, and we have one comment from Nadia Prokopchuk in the chat. Is there something that we can do online to support education in Ukraine? I have just offered a course to Chilean teachers visiting the University of Saskatchewan, this is in Canada, and they were very grateful for a list of English websites that have free resources for English instruction. Would something like this be helpful to Ukrainian teachers of English?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, then we will circulate this through our contacts, and I have the contacts of all the people who registered for this seminar. Well, and if you need these resources, or if you need any questions, or in any ways Canada can help, and please don't hesitate to ask you. And our email is ULEC, Ukrainian Language Education Center, at ualber.ca. This is our email. So if you have any questions, or if you have any requests, please don't hesitate to ask us. Miroslav Shkandry, please. Well, I can see the raised hand. Oksana Katrenko, did you want to make a comment? Yes, please.
Yes, I would like also maybe to help, because just some weeks ago I was having just mutual session with the Peace Corps. We are cooperating with the Peace Corps organization for a long time, and we were also giving us the information about technical platforms to use and how to use during the classes. And maybe also Canadian teachers could propose us something new that we don't know, and maybe how to use. Because just on the distance learning, it's very important to use those technical resources, and that distracts the attention and teaches the students something new while learning. Maybe we don't know something and you can share with us. And maybe we could share also with you something that is useful and that works very good with the students.
Okay,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana. Let's keep in touch about that, definitely. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes,
May I?
Sure.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, organizers, for such important and meaningful event. Thank you for participants for sharing of your experience. It's really unique experience, and we need now to make that kind of reflection and to share with among of us, and then among generally all teachers communities. So I have a very quickly question. My name is Yulia Kravchenko, and I work at the Junior Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, Мала Академія наук України. And my question is for teachers about summer time. What do you think? Because we are now thinking about some program suggest for children on summertime, but online. How is the condition now of children? Do they be willing to participate in the online like camps, schools? If you have your own observation, and it is very important for me to know your own thinking about this, because we are now we are doing now some project, but also we want to continue in summertime. But this summer, of course, it's different summer totally as previous, and we have our plan events, but in the same time we are thinking about something special. The question is if children will be able to participate online, if they're so exhausted, tired, and anxious. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Is there anyone who would like to answer this question or to make a comment? Please turn on your mic and start speaking.
So I used to write some research workers for the small academy every year. This year, all the work that I have studied with the students, they asked to put them on pause, like they are not ready to concentrate and work on their research. And those students who were interested in participating in previous courses provided for students, now they are tired and they're just waiting for the school year to be over without willing to do anything over the summer. So at least that's the experience with my students.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you, Nadia.
May I? Я відповім українською. Ми співпрацюємо з Малою академією і з пані Юлею минулого року робили пазл-кемп в нас в школі. Дуже дякую, цього року теж плануємо, тому це буде дуже гарна практика для дітей, навіть онлайн.
Thank you, Maria. So schools in Ternopil are ready to continue their summer camps. Well, and they are very excited about this opportunity, looking forward to that. Any other questions or comments?
And I'm sorry, could you a little bit extend my question? So we because also it's maybe because the program which suggests my laboratory, it's not like some special learning of some and develops hard skills. It's about soft skills training, and our offers have therapeutic effect. So it's not like a real studying of something, but it's about integration among children, even online, and really get know something new what is out of school curriculum. And now we have idea to, because we have one project, it's cultural diplomacy school. And now we are thinking to organize like international cultural diplomacy school. And of course, united children, Ukrainian children, first of all, who are in Ukraine, who are flee, but also maybe Canadian teachers will be interesting to join to that school, own children in that way, also to help to communicate with Ukrainian children. We are doing it with all advantages now of different online resources. It's not borrow, it's very interactive, and we made a program where online part is pretty short, but also there are some tasks when children do out of online, and then we have that kind of result. So it's just to think. I hope I participate also in next year meeting, and I can share by my contact. So you just could think and also give me your feedback, because for us it's very important to really to respond on real needs what have now children and teachers.
Thank you very much. And could you please share your email or the contact that teachers can contact you, so in the chat? And I would also like probably to get into contact with you and to know how Canadian teachers can contribute to that, and probably share this information among Canadian teachers. Well, and do we have any questions or comments?
Okay, one more question, could I?
Sure.
It's Oksana. You know that a lot of children, Ukrainian children, have started their schooling in Canada right now. So a lot of them moved to Canada and started their schooling there. And it will be very interesting for me. What are the problems? What problems do they have in the Canadian schools? Do they have any problems with studying? And what is the weakest point in them? So could any of the Canadian teachers share this experience with us or no? Is it possible or no during the next webinar? Because I have got two sons and the situation is not stable in our country. Yes, so one of them speaks English fluently and the other one is just learning it right now. It's just interesting for me. Is it really difficult for them to start their schooling in the English schools or no?
Okay, that would be a very interesting topic for our probably next webinar. But if any of the teachers who are participating in the webinar right now have Ukrainian students in their class, will they be willing
Maybe
to
they will just answer right now, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably we don't have teachers who have Ukrainian students in their classes right now. Don't think anyone willing. Because mostly we have Ukrainian bilingual programs here, schools with Ukrainian bilingual programs, and when students arrive, I mean refugees from Ukraine arrive, they send their students to those schools, but there are not many of those schools. Like
to the Ukrainian schools, not English, yes, not
they
Canadian.
are bilingual schools.
Uh-huh.
So they study Ukrainian language, like they have Ukrainian language classes every day. And I think they have Ukrainian culture sometimes, but I'm not sure. about this? Oh, Nadia, please. Probably Nadia will be able to answer the question.
Okay, do please.
I can share a little bit about our experience here in Saskatchewan. It's the Western Canadian province. We're next door to Alberta and Manitoba. And our three provinces have Ukrainian bilingual programs, but they're not in all parts of the province. They're just in the largest cities. In the case of Saskatchewan, we only have one bilingual school here in Saskatoon. We already have about 30 new students in that school. And the families who are in Saskatoon and have sent their children to the Ukrainian English bilingual school have a very easy transition to education in Canada because there are so many people in the school who understand Ukrainian, and this is the whole purpose of the school, to make sure that children have both Ukrainian skills and English skills. That's only one school, and as I said, there are very few of these schools in the Western provinces. The Eastern provinces don't have bilingual schools. They would have Ukrainian language instruction after school or on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So in those cases, students are going to English schools, and it takes quite a long time for them to gather the English skills they need to be successful in school. We have many teachers who are working with them, and we have what we call English as an additional language teachers, or English as a second language teachers, who provide some help. But the transitions in English schools take a long time. It doesn't.
Yes, it's true. Thank you.
But everyone here is trying their best to help the children and the families. And they really are trying to support them psychologically as well. We have other refugee children in Canada, although the Ukrainian situation is not like the refugee situation from other countries. But we have many children here who have arrived from countries that have been war-torn, or where there's been violence, or the families have been displaced. And so we have experience with those children. And so we are working with the Ukrainian newcomers to make sure that they know they're in a safe place while they're here. We know that many of them want to go back as well. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for such a valuable comment, and I hope we did answer Oksana's question. Well, I think we can answer one more question if the audience has, and then I think we will just wrap up. I don't see any questions, don't see any raised hands or any questions or comments in the chat. Well, with this, I would like, okay, unfortunately, yes, I think at this moment let's wrap up our webinar, and as Dr. Bilash already said, we will be planning some more workshops and like this one, webinars like this one. So please, if you have any ideas, or if any of you would like to participate in the future webinars, you have something to share, please don't hesitate to contact us. I gave you our email address in the chat. It's ULEC, it stands for Ukrainian Language Education Center, at it's short for university, alberta.ca, ualberta.ca. Well, thank you again, all the participants, all the attendees, for coming to our webinar. Thank you for all the wonderful questions, but a big thanks go to our presenters who found the time, who found an opportunity and time to come to our webinar and share all the their experiences of what it means to teach in the war-torn country. And I hope that this experience will be insightful for some of our Canadian teachers who work with Ukrainian refugees here. Thank you so very much. And I'm wishing you all the best, and I'm wishing you all the strength. And please know that Canada stands with you, Canadian people stand with you, and we are doing all we can in order to help Ukraine in any way possible. And Slava Україні! До побачення!
Героям слава.
Героям слава!
Героям слава.
Смерть ворогам!